Guys, this might be one of the most important videos I've seriously ever shared here on the channel, especially for traders who don't fully understand risk as of yet. So please don't skip this one and let's dive straight in. Hi guys, Will here from WB Trading and welcome back. If you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so that you don't miss any of the free content that I share with the trading community here on YouTube. So I was on a call with a trader earlier today who was sharing his backstory, sharing his background as a trader, and he was walking me through some crazy stories, one of which I had to share here in a video because I don't want this to happen to anybody else like it happened to him. So let me share the story first, and then I'll help you to hopefully never make the same mistake that he did. So this trader rewound a few years of his journey back to when he was a much newer trader, and most importantly, before he understood risk. He just learned a new strategy and he jumped straight into a live trading account, risking real money straight off the bat, and just taking massive risk without ever even practicing trading the strategy, without fully understanding how it worked, without starting small and just taking small manageable risks. He just dived straight in head first and was risking something like 10% of his account on each trade that he took. And surprise, surprise, he began trading the strategy with 2 or 3 losing trades. But you know where I'm going here. Because he was taking such massive risk, because he wasn't managing risk, that 2 or 3 or 4 losing trades just had a massive negative impact on not just his trading account, but his psychology too. So he'd wiped the better half of his account within just a few days. He swore the strategy didn't work and he quit. He threw in the towel and onto the next strategy, onto the next trading account. And this just happened again and again. And of course, it cost him account after account as well, until he realized what the problem was. And that was risk, allowing edge to play out, staying in the game. That was the key to the lock, so to speak, that he'd been missing all along. And long story short, when he actually understood the importance of those 2 things, so number 1, keeping risk small and manageable, and number 2, actually allowing edge to play out, actually allowing the strategy to deliver profitable trades, understanding that it can take 10, 20, 30 or more trades to actually come away profitable over the long term. That was when he finally began to actually see results. And when you pair that understanding with a strategy that works, that's when the breakthrough happens. And I've seen that time and again with the traders that I've worked with over the years. So if you're a trader who doesn't understand why managing risk is so important, hopefully this video will help and will urge you to really give it some thought, because you might be in the same place that that trader that I've just mentioned was. You might have a strategy that works, but you're being held back by not managing risk. Guys, you can't trade at some obscene level of risk. You can't put 10% of your account balance on the line on every trade. Whatever strategy you have, you're going to empty your account by going that route. You have to bring your level of risk down to an acceptable level. And again, if that is you that was in that former position, taking huge risk, you need to do that right now. Now, you might be thinking, well, what's an acceptable level of risk? Right, so let's answer the question. The amount of risk that you take on a per trade basis, it's going to depend on your account size, and it'll depend on your strategy too. So for example, if you have, let's say, a low win rate strategy, you're going to have to allow for more losses. Or if you have a high win rate strategy, you're going to expect fewer losses. So you could be more comfortably taking slightly more risk via the higher win rate strategy, whereas via the lower win rate strategy, because you'd have to allow for more potential losses, again, you'd have to factor this into how much risk you take. So for example, if a 10 trade losing run is common for your strategy, maybe it's a trend-based strategy, a momentum-based strategy, again, you'd probably better not risk 10% of your account on every trade, right? Because when that losing run does eventually come around, you'll empty your account and vice versa. And as a helping hand for those of you who are new to managing risk and who are learning this for the first time, let me share an example to help you understand what to do when actually taking a trade. So let's say you're about to buy euro dollar at 11,200 with a target of 11,250 and a stop loss of 11,190. So a 10 pip stop and a 50 pip target. Okay. You're risking 10 pips here to make 50 pips, or in other words, you're aiming for 5R. Now, the first thing that you'll need to do here is decide on how much you're wanting to risk. And again, this needs to be a small, manageable percentage of your account balance. So for example, let's say that you have a £10,000 account, and 1% of your account is of course £100 to keep things nice and simple. To place that 1% risk inside your trade, you take your stop loss, or 10 pips, and you'd divide your risk into this. So for example, £100 of risk, you're risking £100, 1% of your account, you divide this into your 10 pip stop loss, and that would equal a position size of £10 per pip, right? So when you take that trade, if price moved against you and triggers your stop loss, you just lost 10 pips, and at £10 per pip, that's of course a £100 loss, and that's minus 1% of your account. In this scenario, you've managed your risk, and the reason that you've actually done so is, again, so that one trade can't do any serious damage. Now the amount of risk will depend on your account size, and it'll depend on your strategy too. So for example, again, if you have a low win rate strategy, you're going to have to allow for more losses, whereas if you have a high win rate strategy, you're going to expect fewer losses, right? So you could more comfortably take slightly more risk via that high win rate strategy. Whereas again, via the low win rate strategy, because you'd have to allow for more potential losses, you'd have to factor this in to how much risk you actually take. And again, if a 10 trade losing run is common for your strategy, you'd probably better not risk 5%, 10%, 15% of your account on every trade, because when that losing run comes around, you'll empty the account. And again, going back to the story that I shared with you earlier, it's just going to lead to a blown account, it's going to damage your psychology, and it's just going to set you back completely unnecessarily. If we take the broker that I use as a quick example, let's take a look at the deal ticket. And you can see here that you're able to actually calculate your risk within this by deciding on stop loss and a position size as you're executing, so that you can actually make sure you're placing the right amount of risk within the trade that you're taking. So for example here, you can see that I've input a £1 per pip position size, and with the stop loss 10 pips away, I'm of course risking £10 on the trade. And I can adjust this by altering the position size to get to whatever 1% or 1.5% or 2% of my account equity is, and so on. Simple as that. So just a fairly short video for you all today to expand on the above, and hopefully this video will add real value for you. And again, going back to the trader who I mentioned, story, hopefully what happened to him won't now have to happen to you too. So again, keep risk small and manageable. Don't bet the farm on any one trade. Think long term. Let Edge actually play out. Stay with the strategy. You can't trade a strategy for a day. You can't trade a strategy for a week or even a month. You have to put that hard work in, trade well, manage risk, and with that, again, the results always come. And I've seen the results come for many of the traders that I've worked with when they've finally made this adjustment. Anyway, hopefully that's added some value. Hopefully that's triggered some inspiration for you all. I'll leave it there for today. But as always, trade with Edge, with consistency, and I look forward to having you back here on the channel soon. Thanks, everyone.